WordPress caching. What is it and why does it matter? Well, as we are the #1 WordPress caching plugin, we figured this video is right up our alley. So in today's video, we're gonna break down caching, and once you're done watching, you're gonna understand the role it plays in any successful website. Now, I don't wanna get too technical to start off, but imagine somebody asked you the question, what's 86,755 times 8,430? You'd probably be confused and would need to get a calculator out. And after some time doing the math, you would have answered and responded back to that person. Now, what if the person asked you the same exact math question again? This time, you'd probably reply within a few seconds because you had already done the time-consuming process once before and you now remember the answer. And that right there is a simplified way of explaining caching. Now, to help you understand it even more, let's apply that to the context of an actual WordPress website. Well, a user visits your website and they make a request. Your web server then takes some time to process that request. And finally, after a few seconds, it responds to the request by delivering the page. And then the server saves a copy of that web page so that when another visitor makes the same request, it can skip the initial time-taking process and provide the web page much faster. And now that you know that, we can sum up caching into two simple sentences. Caching is the storing of frequently used data so it can be accessed faster if someone needs it again, which would mean a faster loading time and a better user experience, which matters a lot these days. Now, with having a better understanding of caching and why it's so important, let's look into the three most common types of caching. Number one is site cache, or what's known as page caching. A site cache is temporary storage space that saves website data like the image, files, and other media the first time that a web page is loaded. This makes it faster for users to access the website when they visit again because the data is already saved and ready to be displayed. However, site caching is a type of client-side caching. This means the website owner can decide how long this data is saved for, but the user has control over the stored data. Site caching is useful for websites that don't change very often and are static because it helps them load quickly for returning visitors. On the other hand, it is not well suited for dynamic websites where content frequently changes, such as e-commerce pages with shopping carts. The second common type is browser cache. Like site caching, browser caching also happens on the client's end. And it works the exact same way as site caching, but it is a cache system built into a web browser. The browser temporarily saves copies of a website's files, including HTML code, CSS style sheets, JavaScript, and images. These files are known as static assets because they don't change between visits. So it ultimately comes down to this. When a user visits the site, their web browser will use the saved data from their cache to quickly load the website. This saved data is temporary and will be deleted after a certain amount of time or when the cache is full. Users can also manually clear the browser's cache if they want to. And the third most common type is server cache. Server caching is also similar to site caching, but instead of saving the content on the client's end, it keeps the content on a site's server. This type of caching is administered on the server without any input from the end user. For example, your server stores HTTP files of your website's content and serves them immediately when the visitor requests. That way, it doesn't have to render a new HTTP file every time a user visits the site, which reduces the load. Some of the types of server caching are as follows. Object caching. Object caching stores database queries in a server-side cache so that the next time a visitor requests content, the server can deliver it immediately without having to query the database repeatedly. Opcode caching. This occurs when the PHP file loads on a web page for the very first time. It stores the results of the PHP script for faster loading instead of executing every single time your website receives a request. And third is CDN caching. A content delivery network is a system of servers located worldwide. When a user visits your website, the CDN will serve cache files from the server closest to them in order to reduce the loading times. Now, depending on how much caching knowledge you truly have, this video may seem like a clutter of new information. Luckily for you, the easiest solution for all of this is to use a caching plugin on your WordPress website. By using a caching plugin, you can achieve various server-side caching benefits, including page caching and object caching as well. Moreover, these plugins also know how to offload their cache and renew it whenever a fresh piece of content is published or existing content is updated on your website. And not to mention, with top caching plugins like WP Rocket, you can also get added performance optimization features that will significantly help improve the Lighthouse performance score and the Core Web Vitals, which will be a major boost for your WordPress website. Now, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and reach more viewers. Also, if you want to get easy and effective web performance tips to speed up your website, check out our newsletter linked below. Lastly, if you want to learn more about the Core Web Vitals and the impact they can have on your website, watch our playlist right here.